So I've heard there were two botches. There was that at the top,
God,
and then there
yeah,
was, of
breaking her
course,
nose.
Charlotte's face getting rocked, which
Yeah.
was
It broke her nose. Yeah,
horrifying.
you can
Did it
see
break her
there's a
nose?
big
Was
red
that
spot and
that
it's
was a break?
twisted,
Okay.
and she started to bleed from the right up the top.
Oh,
I saw
Yeah.
I was hoping for the best, but I saw it and I was like, that doesn't look good. This is one that I struggle with if you want to give it the rating or the best of the night or whatever, because from a storytelling standpoint, I totally agree with Adolfo. It was a great build. The acting was great. I think we're kind of echoing each
Yeah.
other here. It was
Yeah.
very
It
stiff
was.
to me.
Yeah. Okay. I will.
Shots.
Yeah.
It was snug.
And it there was no, it wasn't a fluid, like you'd had a whole night of sort of real fluid kind of technical crazy shit, and then this one unsuspectingly I wasn't anticipating
this match.
really stiff.
This was probably in
really tamped down
more certain amount of terms, but this was like the most stiff match of night one. Like, and there was a lot of heavy. There's a lot of heaviness behind the moves.
Yeah.
I want to say, and this might make me sound like I'm old, but much older women's wrestling was kind of stiff like this. Women would get in the match in like the 80s and 70s, and they would just hit each other as hard as they could. It's because that's all the audience could understand was, oh, look, those women are brutes. And it's evolved and it's far better. And let's face it, the women do better shit anyway. But it took me a while to warm up to this, and I was really in the end, I thought, yeah, that was fantastic. I bought it. I will say the last 3-4 minutes, probably the best 3-4 minutes of the night. Like, damn, there it is. It's clicking, it's going. And I think that's finally Charlotte going,
take it home.
All right, let's do this. Okay, I'm with it. Okay, I'm back and I'm connected. And of course, that's Charlotte going, hey, my nose is broken and my lip hurts, but I gotta, I know what the end. Here we go.
I feel like it dragged it down though.
And Rhea fighting through
after match, like Rhea up there being so happy and crazy and fun with the belt, and they cut to Charlotte for no good reason. Like, obviously they say now it's like she's showing respect to as the babyface, but she doesn't know how. She looks like, why am I I have to do this? Why am I doing this? Like, it made no sense.
Yeah.
She looked like a sad puppy.
Yeah. Is she? Yeah. There was this odd misplaced reference in that moment from her, and I couldn't tell if it was a acting or kayfabe moment or if it was a genuine like, all right, I'm here and I did my job.
She was trying to finish out what she was told to do, and at the same time, she's sitting there going, "My nose fucking hurts. My face is broken. Can I please leave and go get this looked at?"
So this is what I do. Yeah,
Yep.
Nothing but respect for Charlotte Flair. Although there's a part of me that's like, I've seen a lot of you. And
well, she's going to be off. She's going to be off for a little bit because she's going to take some time off because that's what it was. That's reported.
Another observation by Uriel that her ring attire was also a lot of ass.
Yes, there was a lot of ass there.
Did you? Also, like Charlotte Flair was 2 for 2 because like she was the second person to come out in a puffer jacket. I was like, WrestleMania night, WrestleMania brought to you by puffer jackets.
I said, Jesse, I'm like, is it a thing in LA right now? Is like this the style is puffer jackets in April? Like, is this what's going on?
As a side note, though, I saw a backstage video with Becky and Seth. Seth is like about to go out, and Becky's like, "Oh, that's not fair. I'm jealous."
Yeah, but I will say this.
It's 1996 back in LA.
The other thing that I was wondering about, though, and I was talking to my friend about this about Charlotte is, technically really great wrestler. She knows what she's doing. She's bred for the business. That's great. All she does is either have the title or go for the title. I have not seen Charlotte go into a program where she has to sell a story or be babyface or heel, anything about extending a storyline to get through a couple of pay-per-views or something else. And I really want to see if she can do that because right now she's one-dimensional. She's just like, I'm always, I'm the queen because I'm always going for the title and I'm technically awesome. And I'm sitting there going, you haven't proven to me you're a good wrestler in that respect. You proved me you're an amazing technician and you deserve to be where you are. But acting-wise, anything-wise, you just can't carry the show. There's nothing for you. You're one-dimensional.
Well, let's hope. Oh, go ahead.
That's kind of.
I was.
Go ahead. I'm just. That's kind of my take too. Yeah, she's stiff because she's either this or that. She can't carry a story necessarily.
I'm sorry, Johnny.
Go ahead.
Step on you. just really quick, I was just gonna say, well, let's hope if she does come back after this break, because I think she's gonna try bodybuilding. She's got like some bodybuilding competitions or whatever. So let's hope after this hiatus, when she gets back, that the way that the women's field looks is that she will have to carry a story, so that we can see that side of her.
Well, it's been that way a bit for her beforehand. Like with Vince in charge, she's never had to really do that. She's always been like she's been at the top of the card for the whole point. And they tried it a couple times, like her and Sasha, or setting up the 4 Horsewomen. It never really worked, and it was always her. Like even with the Becky thing, where they were trying to set up Becky to be the heel against her, she couldn't carry a storyline in that to make the switch work. So I want to see her do it. I want her to come back refreshed. I also think she's working with Alexa Bliss on her bodybuilding thing, which is really cool because Alexa used to do that. But it's just like you can only ride the Flair name so long, and you can only ride your talent so long. You need to be able to show why we want to keep you around, because otherwise she's an attraction you bring in for one thing, like Ronda Rousey, and you bring her out.
Yep.
You see her once a year. Oh, John, I love that.
John.
Oh, that's so accurate.
Hang on to that anger, because we're going to talk about Ronda in a little bit. Because we're going to get to night 2 soon. But Mommy Rhea Ripley is your new SmackDown Women's Champion.
Mommy!
Yes.
Whereas Simon Miller said Amy. Or sorry, Ross said in WTF things, because she lost the M, so it just said Amy.
I love her new. But side note, I love her new thing when she's taking pictures or she's doing videos for WWE. Like her new thing is she has some random thing in her pocket. Like I saw a picture of her and Damian Priest in front of the stage, and she randomly has a banana in her pocket.
Yep.
And then she was doing an interview with Ring the Bell during WrestleMania weekend, and she had a Dominant action figure in her pocket. It was hilarious.
That's funny.
Jeez.
No, another quick sidebar. I got a lot of joy being there. Was I can't remember which outlet it was on YouTube, but they got an interview with Rhea Ripley, like pretty much as soon as she came off stage, and she looked just like so overjoyed and just like so much, like a little kid who got their most prized Christmas gift and they opened it up, and I was it brought me a lot of joy seeing her, and I wasn't sure, because she wasn't acting like mommy. She was acting like, at least in my opinion, she wasn't acting like mommy. She wasn't acting like she wasn't acting like the Destroyer. She was acting like just this overjoyed.
She was acting like the 26. She was acting like the 26-year-old that she actually is. Which, by the way, and it was reported afterwards, like earlier this week, that Rhea Ripley is technically a Grand Slam champion because she's won every major women's WWE title. She was NXT UK champion, NXT Women's champion. She was a main roster tag team champion, and she's held the Raw and SmackDown women's title. And she's only 26 years old. 26.
I think the only belt she hasn't won was the NXT tag.
Yes, because those weren't.
And that wasn't there when she was there.
Yeah, it wasn't.
I feel like at some point she's got to go down in the window so she can say she's won every woman's belt.
But
she also competed in the first women's War Game match. Like she's been
great.
She is the new generation of that. And at that same point, Adolfo, did you also see that in that video clip too? She's literally on the verge of tears with Triple H, like celebrating as he's trying to go in for a kiss. It looks like, which it wasn't, but still.
Yeah.
But you can see, like, genuinely, like, she's like,
because that's one of Triple H's babies. Like, oh my goodness, I almost shed a tear.
I don't.
It's awesome.
You should. I think we need more of this new generation.
Well,
And I think
we'll talk about
WWE.
Okay.
It's not going to happen
because
but
something happened night 2, and while I was happy with who won, I kind of like was thinking that somebody else should have won. But we'll talk about it in a little bit.
My favorite thing about the Dominic and Rhea Ripley thing is that they're advertised to supposed to be a couple, but I don't think they've ever even like hugged each other on camera.
Right, because Dominic is respecting his girlfriend, and also he doesn't want to fight Buddy Matthews. And trust me, I don't want to fight him either.
That was the funniest thing at the Hall of Fame, seeing those pictures where they edited some out because it was literally like Mommy, Dominic, Buddy Matthews, and then Dominic's girlfriend next to him.
It was hilarious. Yeah. And then also seeing like Andrade was there. And I think the most iconic picture for me, it was so hilarious, is Malachi and Zelina. I know. Yeah. Well, there's a picture of Malachi Black and Zelina. I was like, gosh, I forgot how tiny she is compared to him.
Her Hurricane Ronnie mommy on, what was it, either Friday or Monday? Was it was awesome.
We'll talk about that in a little bit, but okay.
Another just really quick sidebar about this, and then we can move on. If Rhea Ripley makes a play to control that fucking faction, I am there for it. If they give her a story where she turns to fucking what's his face, the dude that's the head of Judgment Day,
Finn Balor.
To Finn, and it's like, you know what? You're a fucking loser. I got the fucking belt. I run this shit.
She's the demon, so
she's the only one in Judgment Day who won their match at WrestleMania. Well, granted, Damian didn't have a match, but Finn lost and Dominic lost. She's the only one in Judgment Day who won.
Yeah, I would get so behind it if she ran Judgment Day. Yes. But that's it. Go ahead. Next.
Okay. So Pat McAfee was there, but we could skip that.
George Kittle was there.
My mom loved that because she's a big fan of Kittle, so she enjoyed that. Well, of course you were. You're a San Francisco 49er fan, John.
I had no problem with that. I was sort of bored that Pat McAfee was there, but once George Kittle got
should have been LA9.
It should have been
LA9. Like anybody.
We'll talk about Bobby Knight too, because that made me
absolutely
mad.
Agree.
Damian Priest coming out after that to beat the crap out of the Miz would have been amazing. Like throwing shit down.
Anybody, any legend or wrestler who should have been wrestling that.
Absolutely should have been.
For reals.
That's the Hulk Hogan. That's the Hulk Hogan moment. That's the Goldberg moment.
He got the Hall of Fame and he never was in a ring. Send the Great Muta down to spray the mist in Miz's face.
Yeah,
that was fantastic.
That was awesome. All right, main event, night 1 for the undisputed WWE.
The wrong thing happened. This is what should. No, I'm just kidding.
Now, don't get me wrong. This match was fun. I still like the SmackDown Women's Championship match better, but I really like the ending to this match. The 3 Haluva kits for the win, and then Sammy kicking out of the.
That was great.
Day 1. Is it the D1? The D1.
The 1D.
Kicking out of the 1D. I was just like, see, it's not as bad as when Drew McIntyre kicked out at the end of days, because I think the Usos will be fine after this. But that match was a lot of fun. It was go ahead.
Something I love about. Something I love about this match. I have it playing right now too, and I'm reminded of all my notes and my thoughts. Watching them communicate in the ring, and they're trying to be subtle because on TV we'll see all of it. I don't want to say they're improvising because they're not improvising. They know what they're going, but they're calling shots, and all 4 of them are so good. They're saying things. They're saying 1-word, 2-word things. You see Kevin Owens' beard move just a little bit, bum, and you just see like not even a head shake, just sort of like a wink, and then bang, and they do the
random
thing.
Little Uzi Vert performance before the Usos came out. I was just like, okay, we're trying to get. I was like, this song is popping on TikTok, but I was like, I'm not mad at this, but whatever. But yeah,
I also love that this was brought up later that that match literally is a dream match beyond dream match, because it's the WWE homegrown, like, biggest tag team ever been versus who used to be and still is like the indie tag team of the decade, I mean, El Generico wasn't there. We understand that. He's watching at home, thinking that's going. But
we did get Olay chants. It was great.
They counted. They were people chanting Generico too. That's what I heard. They were chanting for Generico. Oh no, they mentioned it on commentary. They mentioned Generico on commentary.
But we got the Olay, 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 Olay chants during the match. I was just like, these are my peoples.
And at the same time, you're watching a match that people 10, 12 years ago were saying this should happen. This needs to happen. This is like a giant dream match that would never happen. And they made it happen. Now, I will say the one thing that took me out of it was in the last like third of it, there were like maybe two too many super kick spots. Like it just, they did it a couple too many times. And it just was a little boring.
Minnie said the same. Minnie and I were thinking the same thing. I was like, dang, I was like, what is this? Young Bucks territory? Like, what are we doing?
It seemed like they were waiting for something to happen that didn't happen, and they forgot a spot they were doing. So let's just do it 2 more times. And it just, you had like the 3 that was good. Go into the next. It went too far.
I will say, I did think Sami Zayn was going for a flying headbutt off the top rope. When he got up there, because he got so much air and flew so far. I was like, no way! But pulled up with his chest just the last moment. I was like, oh, okay. I thought you were going to pull one of those out. Oh my God.
On the third lubricant.
Canadians.
Yeah.
Just that like wicked little smile on his face. Oh, yeah.
I think Sami Zayn, I'm not saying underrated, but
the
acting of Sami Zayn is something that all the wrestlers need to
pay
go
back and watch
to.
I forget where it is exactly. It's like 2 or 3 years ago, or it was like right before pandemic. He talked about it on the Stone Cold podcast, where what got him over with the back was they sent him in as a guest referee for something. And if you watch him do all the hijinks and the acting as the outside like referee, you can see like it's already there. Like that's where he is. He can do goofy, he can do regular, he can do like completely stone-faced stuff. And so this was coming from a mile away.
What much like Kenny Omega.
It's palpable.
Oh my God. I sent you guys that thing about Kenny Omega today, right? That you can see like the genius of Kenny Omega.
Yep. That's
all those guys from PWG, all those guys that went through PWG at the same time. They all have that. It's insane.
But yeah, watching Sammy and Kevin win and are your new undisputed tag team champions was such a great way to end night 1. And overall, night 1 was a lot of fun. So, we get back to where we're staying at. We're excited. I was like, okay, we got night 2. We see the card. I was like, okay, there's like maybe 1 or 2 matches that we're not too fun of, but I think the rest of this will be great, right? Let's get.
It was a great WrestleMania for night 1. Night 1 was honestly, even before we got to night 2, I was saying to my friend, I was like, that's a WrestleMania card. Like that would have been a WrestleMania completely by itself. It was that good. But no.
So
I should not say this. I should not say this on the podcast, and we'll get into the rant of this. I'm going to say this, and I hope my mom doesn't hear this. I was at a funeral on Tuesday. And while I was at the funeral and I was listening to the lovely priest say some beautiful things, and I was sitting next to my dad who has a hard time at funerals, and my sister's, trying not to cry, and my mom is crying and she's there with her brother and everything. And I'm sitting there kind of dazing off like you do in church. And I totally had a moment of, oh man, Shane broke his knee.
Well, he tore his quad.
Totally was just aloof. I was that bad kid in church, and I didn't smile. That would have been bad, but I definitely had a moment of like,
all right,
totally
let's just
Sunday.
Back at the moment. Now we're going to talk about night 2 and everything that led it, and then we're also going to briefly touch upon Raw after Mania and SmackDown after Mania because
Revenge of Vincenzo Macaroni.
We'll get into that, but night 2.
That's right, little Vince.
So I say this knowing full well that I'm not at that level yet, but on the Bi-Conics, I would like to consider myself the Simon Miller of this podcast. I'm not bald. Damn.
Yeah, there you go.
But I'm not bald. I'm not a white man. I don't wrestle, but I like to be cautiously optimistic and I try to see the positive in things. Night 2 tested my optimism to its core.
And you were there live.
And I was there live. But see, I honestly, if I had went by myself, I don't think I would have made it all the way through night 2. It's because I had my 2 other friends with me and kind of keep me centered as best as they could. Like,
hey, no, hang on. You would have walked out of WrestleMania.
I really would have. The first 2 matches
Mikey.
alone almost killed it. The only reason I stayed was for 2 reasons. Number 1, again, had I gone by myself, it would have been one thing. But number 1, well, a couple of reasons I stayed. Number 1 is because I paid too much money to not stay for the whole entire thing. But realistically, if Minnie and Uriel were not there with me to keep me engaged and to keep me centered throughout this whole thing, I literally probably would have walked out of. I would have walked out of night 2 more pissed off than I originally was, because I was still pissed when I left Sunday, but I wasn't. I know I could have been more upset if it was just me. So realistically,
did you do the dad? Would you make like a dad excuse and be like, "Well, I better go before the traffic
this is some
gets
bullshit.
bad, you know,
I don't need to stand here." But
there you go.
Got to
Just
make sure
throw
the,
your
the
drink
train
and
is
fuck this,
completely
and
full,
there you
because
go.
obviously what gets up to Englewood or anything else. But
No.
still, yeah.
Literally, shout out to Minnie and Uriel, because without those 2, like night 2 I wouldn't have made it to the end of night 2 without them, because they kept me entertained and they kept me centered. But that's how night 2 started off really, really bad, because those first 2 matches really soured everything for me. And thankfully, the third match that happened that night kind of picked it up. But let's just get this over with, because I don't want to talk about it for long. Night 2 opens up with Lesnar versus Omos.
I was disappointed, man.
Longest entrance ever.
Oh God,
it took forever.
Like I get it. To be honest, this was my first exposure to Omos. Right?
I'm sorry.
And I know, like,
Please,
okay,
please call
almost.
All his fans are called Homo sapiens, but continue.
So this was my real first experience with Almost, and I am not a real big Brock Lesnar fan, right? But I was really hoping to get just at least an entertaining, big men slapping each other around type thing.
You had that later in the night, though.
Right. Which I got that later in the night, but like this, it was disappointing. Disappointing.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly.
Disappointing.
One thing I will say, for at least on the live broadcast, it was hysterical and also like, okay, I see where you're doing this. Watching Brock actually sell, like having to sell for once, was hysterical to watch his face.
That was actually crazy. I was like, what is it? Oh,
I will. Yes, I will heartily agree. That's what made that match entertaining, was watching Brock Lesnar actually sell shit. That was funny.
And then Brock won, and I was just like, okay, cool. I was like, we're done. Cool. Bye. See you later. Next match. Oh, this next match. I'm going to let Professor just take the lead with this one, because he had a lot of feelings. The women's Fatal 4-Way Showcase.
You mean let's people that went injured?
So
that was unfortunate.
Okay. So I can talk about my this. Okay, let me make this articulate so it's not too much. Ronda Rousey.
Well, she's also injured too.
Bad
so why was she there?
And then Shayna got injured during the match too.
Has not gotten any better at this. So I'm not. I hope this doesn't make me sound like too much of an asshole. I started washing dishes during this match because I had chores to do that I had put off, and after about a minute in, I was like, "Oh, Shotzi and Natalya."
Why isn't their tag team named the Blackhearts?
Oh man,
why?
It should be. It needs to be. And I love both of them, and I'm biased, sure, but like, what is happening here? So I was watching dishes and I was still being attentive and I was trying to watch the spots. And then I actually rewound it once or twice and I caught up 30 seconds later. So other stuff. Ronda was gone and Shayna Baszler, they were gone for like 5 minutes of this thing.
We saw that y'all didn't see. So I'm trying to remember exactly when, but Ronda and Shayna were on the floor for a good chunk of the match because it looked like Shayna busted an ankle, something.
Shayna got knocked off the ring, if I remember correctly, and went down. She was supposed to fall into a couple people, and so she disappeared from there. And then I remember at the end of it, when she popped back up, we both, my buddy and I go, she's missing a shoe. What the hell's going on here?
Her ankle it was all wrapped up too. And we saw the medical team and Ronda there, like checking in on her, everything. So they were there the whole entire time until the ending spot. I was just like, and honestly, minus the ending with Ronda and Shayna out of the way, it was actually a pretty fun match with just those three.
Shayna hobbling in was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was, I think that's part of what made me upset was like those last few minutes, the last 2-3 minutes I checked in on. I was like, this is great. Look, this is happening. This is happening.
I love Chelsea Green's. I love Chelsea Green's finisher, the unprettier. I was just like,
I'm trying to. There was one moment I'm trying to pull it up now, but Peacock's not working. That I wanted to the sequence at the end.
Yeah.
Where it was just boom, this happened. Boom, boom. And I can't remember who exactly was in the ring.
Everybody's pulling their finishers. This is moving,
it was. I looked away.
And then in comes Ronda and Shayna.
For a second, and I came back. It was Ronda.
I'm mad that Shotzi keeps taking these pins for Ronda. It upsets me.
Yeah, that's what it was. There was that crazy armbar, or whatever the fuck it was, Ronda thing. I'm so over the.
It's okay. Curse if you have to.
Sorry, it's bothered me. It's like it's genuinely fucked my brain up. Ronda Rousey reminds me of the bullies that deservedly have a chip on their shoulder, but then that becomes their cross their whole life. And they feel that they need to be the hero because this thing happened to them. They didn't get over. And it's a legitimate thing, and it's a tragic thing, and it's a horrible, sad thing, and I have empathy for you, but you're not offering me anything. And we have to come to you. You never come to us. Why are you going into that too?
Why did they win? If Shayna's injured, Ronda was already injured. Why aren't you calling an audible in the ring and putting somebody else over that can then go for the tag titles, whatever you want this to be, because you have no women's tag teams, and these two cannot stay healthy.
All of them were worthy. I'm biased, Shotzi and Natalya, but all of them could go been put over at any time.
Honestly, like
I would have been like, yeah, bam.
Now, I am an unapologetic Liv Morgan stan and a Raquel Rodriguez stan because those are my homegirls. But
Raquel, I would have loved to see Raquel snatch that.
It's okay, but I would have even been fine if Sonya and Chelsea won because I love me some Mrs. Cardona. Sonya, I think is fun.
I think Chelsea Green and Carmella is a better tag team, though. Chelsea Green and Carmella would be scary.
No, I think Carmella wasn't there because I know before coming back from, because it was reported because like the reason Carmella was gone for so long is because she was pregnant. But then it was so sad when she publicly acknowledged that her and Corey had a miscarriage and lost the baby.
Oh, it wasn't more than that. She had an ectopic pregnancy.
Yeah,
that's what it was. That's what I was trying to remember. I watched a bit of
Elimination Chamber. That was her first pay-per-view back. You can see like she's not fully there in the chamber either. Like she wasn't there, and the fact that she worked through that she had to get there, I'm pretty sure she wasn't fully mentally ready to be back on the road again. And I'm glad she's taking the time off to go get better. And like, I can't do this. Like I haven't grieved what's happened. So I'm glad of that. That being said, character-wise, I would love to see when she gets back and better, her and Chelsea Green go on a tear as basically the new iconic.
Yes, definitely yes. And that was what we were slowly getting to. But I agree with you, JVL. Like, I'm glad Carmella is taking this time to kind of work through the process because like I can't even imagine. And like my heart went out to Corey and Carmella with all that, man. I was just like, and then I come to find out later that Chelsea Green wrestled that match like her stomach was not in the best of shape either, because she ended up having like food poisoning or something, and she worked that match.
It was something worse. She went to the ER for.
Yeah. I was like, damn it, Chelsea. At first, I was like, damn it, Chelsea, did you break your wrist again?
No.
Wasn't somebody else was messed up too, though? Who else? There were.
I mean, Shayna hurt her ankle. Ronda was already injured.
Shayna hurt.
And then Chelsea's stomach was all in knots, and then she had to go to the ER after the match.
I don't know who it was, but somebody had a list of like, here's everything that all not injuries, but like all backstory things. And this match had all kinds of weird shit. Like, what the fuck?
Either Liv had something or Raquel had something that was going on.
I think Liv, like, she busted a lip or something. But that match was something.
Can I?
No.
Which doesn't excuse anything, but I think that match would have been fine if we earned a different ending, in my opinion. I think because we were kind of sort of earning a different ending, and then all of a sudden Ronda Rousey shows up as a hero from 10 years ago. And like, why?
Call the audible. Put a team that's actually up on their feet into something. Let them be showcased.
Well, I mean, we're kind of getting that, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But
have Shotzi run you over in the tank. Like, there's so many things you could do.
Got nixed for her entrance, and I was upset. No, it's not gone forever because I'm trying to remember. I don't think she came out on SmackDown, but
Oh God! I love that Natalya had the helmet.
I'm like, 2 people can fit in the tank. We have seen it when Shotzi and Tegan came out together.
Oh, Tegan, my heart.
I know.
I will say this. I honestly want this to happen now, and I keep telling this with my friend Jesse. Like, this is something that needs to go on, just to use the women in some way in the damn division, especially if it's on SmackDown or something else. Have Natalya, as the veteran she is, start a women's faction called the Heart Dungeon, and everyone there she brings in one at a time, and she wrestles. You do vignettes where she stretches them like they used to do in the old Heart Dungeon. She breaks them apart, she puts them down, she breaks them down and brings them back up in her way of thinking. And she's got this major group of like 8 people all coming in and beating the crap out of everybody. And like, it's Shotzi, it's Tegan, it's all these mid-carders that aren't being used in this faction where they're relearning from the last survivor of the Heart Dungeon, and they go on a rampage.
I'm down.
Go up to Calgary, shoot all of those spots in Stu Hart's basement, do all that
like
stuff.
Run in the snow, smoking a cigarette or something, like he lets him in the door, Brett's just standing there like...
That'd be glorious. I'm down
with
that.
There's a picture of Owen sitting up on top on the wall, like literally do it all and have her, so Natalya can be that person that she is right now, which is the gatekeeper, that type of thing. But she's bringing all the new talent in and and showing them reasons to root for these people that you should be rooting for anyways. Like, they give Shotzi a new, finisher that's a submission. All of them are submission wrestlers. All of them have these things. Do something with them.
See, and I think you're kind of what you're speaking to was our general problem with Charlotte Flair. You can be a legacy and not be only that legacy. And sadly, they haven't taken advantage of Natalya in any way, right? They haven't given Natalya any of that push.
Like, the best part with her is she's connected to so many different generations, not only of just legacy, but like bring Beth Phoenix in, her tag team partner, to work on tag team stuff with them and like strength stuff. Bring in her stuff when she was working with, talk about like the new Hart Dynasty and all that stuff, or the new Hart Connect, everything else. Like, it's just, there's so many places they could go. And of course, they have to actually want women's wrestling on TV, which is like, do something with them.
It is. Yeah, that match was a whole thing. And like I said previously, those first 2 matches almost took me out of night 2. But then, from the heavens above, I was blessed with the next match, the triple threat.
It's a big sweaty man.
Listen, the inner bisexual in me was just like glued to the screens and to the ring. But this match was a banger match, bro. Like, the Intercontinental triple threat between Gunther, Sheamus, and Drew McIntyre. These boys knew what they were doing. It was so. It really should have. But honestly, I'm kind of glad it didn't open the show, because then I was like, cool, great match, and then just get stuck with all the shit.
Yeah.
So this was great.
I think It's great seeing Sheamus and then McIntyre and then Dad Bod.
Gunther has lost a lot of weight, dude. Like, I give him so much credit.
I know, and I'm proud. I'm glad Gunther's lost all the way Gunther's lost, and I think that's great. But to see, I don't want to say average because that's not what I mean. But to see normal human who could still fight these monsters and just sort of has the heart that carries. No, as opposed, I'm not saying like he's slovenly or anything.
He's an old school actual wrestler. He's an old school actual wrestler versus two superheroes.
Right. There it is. Yeah,
that match was so good. Like, shit. Honestly, like I've seen some people upset. They're like, Drew shouldn't have taken the pin. I'm like, no, Drew was the right person to take the pin in this match because it's setting up a rematch between Gunther and Sheamus down the line because Sheamus didn't get pinned. But this match ruled so hard, and to hear all those chops from where we were sitting in that arena was just, everyone was so quiet when the chops were getting ready. It's just like, give it to me now.
Can you really hear them?
Holy crap, John. When I tell you, like, me, Minnie, and Uriel were clutching our pearls every time anybody did a chop. We're like, ah!
Oh, and John, even like in Montreal, when I saw him wrestle, it's as loud as a gunshot when you're up in the 500s level. It is so, he's hitting them so hard.
It literally reverberated in the stadium. I kid you not.
The show I was at, I mean, I heard some chops, and I mean, I wasn't nearly as far away. As
Gunther, to me, has the loudest and hardest chops in anybody in this business. I'm going to be honest with you.
Oh, easy. Well, look at his arm.
He's a lanky boy.
Swimmer's arm, where it's just like this rubber band. Wow, it's over.
It's he's the best person to do naps in stage combat because it sounds like he's killing you.
Yeah. Yep.
Sure. Oh yeah. Which I will say, they are much better at WrestleMania anyway. They were much better at sort of at least hiding or pretending to mask a lot of the naps. I'm not seeing them blatantly.
Well, for the chops, there are none. If they're doing kicks,
No, that's I honestly thought the match was fantastic. I felt like it was cut short. Exactly. Like I think I could have watched that for 45 minutes.
This was a nice paced match. I mean, the ending, I did agree, kind of felt rushed, but the ending was really cool because Sheamus goes in, he kicks. The ending was crazy. Gunther just takes Sheamus and just throws him into Drew McIntyre and then pins Drew. I was just like, oh, that's a creative spot. I love that. And it looks so brutal because Sheamus just bounces off and then just rolls out of the ring.
Oh, my God. Well, and also, I'm pretty sure that Gunther tore off Sheamus's nipple at some point because he was bleeding like all across his chest.
Sheamus's chest, Sheamus's chest and back and everything. I was just like, he went from mayonnaise to ragu sauce by the end of this match.
So, is Sheamus doing like
he's just naturally pale like
Sheamus just staying indoors?
Yeah.
Is he really? Oh,
that's why his entrance in the dark is always just lights focused on him because it just reflects everywhere.
Yeah, because he's a fucking projector really walking down.
I made the joke when Sheamus took off his coat. I was like, my eyes.
What was it? Jesse and I were sitting there at an elimination chamber when we came in, and we go, the fires are lit. Gondor calls for aid.
That guy's wearing a puffy coat. No, that's just Sheamus.
Man, that match was great. And then to hear like 80,000 people when Sheamus did the fella in that live was just so beautiful.
Some of those kicks, though, like the bro kicks too, like they came close to stiff.
Bro, I was just like, that match humped so hard. I was so excited.
There were some shots. There were some. This will make sense to me because I know they're friends and they're super close and they were best men at each other's weddings and stuff like that. There were some shots in there where like you would only hit your best friend that hard sort of shots. Like I would only hit you this hard because one, I love you, and two,
Right.
I know I'm gonna get it back. So
William Regal really loved this match because he posted in a tweet. He's just like, "This is European wrestling at its finest that you ever will see currently in the United States." And I was like, "Damn straight, William Regal."
British
Like-
Storm style.
it shows you
It does.
that style
And then
still works. That style,
and I think what
that
made the
pace,
match
that
even
kind of
better is you
match.
guys didn't get to see this, but like after the match ended and then they cut to commercial or whatever, like the whole audience erupted because it was just Sheamus and Drew left in the ring, and then they hugged and everyone just lost their shit. They're like, "Yeah!"
Oh, that's awesome. I would have loved to see that. I would have loved
It
to
didn't
see that.
show
Great
it.
kayfabe for us.
But man, it was so nice for us who were there in person to see that. That match was, and I mean, Dave Meltzer gave that match 5 stars, and Gunther is just keep on putting on these 5-star matches because he also got 5 stars when he faced Ilya both times too. So it's just like Gunther is that man. I mean, his future might still be in jeopardy now that Vincent Kennedy McMahon is back, but to think of the fact that this man was supposed to be buried.
My God.
Sure. I love you guys, but I have to help with
goody.
family duties. So can I talk shit with you on a different day?
Oh,
Keep talking
definitely.
shit,
I mean,
but I
we
wanna
have the
talk shit
text
later.
thread, so
But we can get together and talk.
yeah, we can find a time to just shit the shit.
Yeah. Well, I still want to. I've known to talk to this about for 10 days, and my life has been falling apart. But
Yeah,
I miss you all
John.
dearly, and I'm glad I got to do this. I will. This is bad podcasting. So
Never.
cut me out of this part of the podcast. I'm gonna go before I start crying over how bad day 2
He's
was.
living right at the good part.
I know. All right, Professor, take care. Do your
Bye,
duties.
John.
Bye. We love you.
Bye, gents. I'll talk to y'all soon.
And there were 2.
And then there were 2.
What do you mean? There's 3 of us. What are you
You're the
talking
host.
about?
You're always here. You've been here all the way. Like we're co-hosts, and we're down to 2 because Minnie left or Rage quit. John had to go do family stuff, so the people whose opinions both are against each other but also matter the most are still here.
I mean, that is very true.
Oh,
I mean,
Adolfo, you and I are going to Philadelphia WrestleMania next year, right? Because it's on our coast.
Oh man, heck yeah.
Oh my
Heck
gosh,
yeah.
you guys. Like, I kid you not, because I already knew where it was because they already announced it like a while ago. But man, the stadium, every time they played the hype video like twice, once a night 1, once a night 2. Night 1 wasn't as bad, but when they played the WrestleMania package for next year and it was going to be in Philadelphia, that stadium erupted in boos.
Of course,
Oh,
they are.
yeah.
I mean, which was going to be expected, but to hear that many people, is like, damn. I was
I'm
like,
surprised.
calm down.
I'm surprised because it's at the Link,
Yeah.
and the Link is an open top
Yeah.
stadium in April,
Yeah.
Philly.
Yep.
It's gonna be fucking cold.
It's funny because when I saw the initial commercial for it, and then I saw them do that flyby of the stadium, I thought to myself, that stadium doesn't have a retractable roof. That's an open air stadium.
It's going to be cold.
Yeah, it is.
It's windy in that stadium too, and it's a notoriously bad stadium. Like, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just so. Me and Minnie were thinking about, let's see if we could do SummerSlam, and then we saw where it's at. We're like, never mind.
Yeah.
I was like, I would love to go to a SummerSlam, but I'm not going to Detroit. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Minnie's hoping that there might be an event in Arizona. I was like, listen, if there's a major pay-per-view in Arizona, you bet your ass I'm flying out there.
I'm so pissed the Rumble's in the Alamo Dome.
We don't talk about Texas.
But yeah,
whatever.
that match was really good. It was that match, the Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, and Gunther match.
Gunther.
Really, that re-engaged me with the night's show, because after the first 2 matches, I was kind of like, right, and then I started getting engaged again with the women's match, But
Let's
then
talk about it.
But that ending,
Let's talk about it.
That ending just like killed me. And then you get McIntyre, Sheamus, and Gunther, and I was like, okay, I'm re-engaged.
We're back.
So,
we're back. We can do this.
We're back. Right, we can do this.
And then now this is where we're gonna differ, right? So after the IC triple threat. Actually, I don't think we might, because this is what I'll say. So after the Intercontinental triple threat, the next match we have is for the Raw Women's Championship between challenger Asuka taking on champion Bianca Belair. Now, before we get into the fighting, can I just say that Bianca Belair, like, is the best person for Black culture, because all her WrestleMania entrances, she has been representing the African American community. Like, she makes her own ring gear. 2 years ago, when WrestleMania was 2 years ago in Texas, she had a whole like 8 BCU marching band come out to play her entrance. Here, she had the Divas of Compton come out and perform. And then Triple H choking up at the press conference, talking about the contortionist and her mom dying that morning, and still going through with the performance. I was just like, see, in hindsight, when I saw that, I was like, I should have realized that Bianca was not going to lose here. Okay. Match I thought was really great, because you have the technicality of Asuka versus Bianca's big power style. I thought it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the match. While I will say I love seeing Bianca win another WrestleMania match, as much as I stan her, and y'all know how much I love Bianca Belair, I think the wrong person won that match. Asuka, I think, should have went over and should have became the Raw Women's Champion in this match. Doesn't discredit Bianca, because I think Bianca is a star and she will have phenomenal matches, career. But I think, okay. But I think, yeah, I thought I saw something glitch, but it's fine. Right. But I think Asuka should have won this match. But see, JBL, I don't think we were going to disagree, because Asuka should have won, and I picked her to win. I'm happy Bianca won, but I think Asuka should have won, because she doesn't have much left in her career, to be honest. She's like 40. Yeah.
Well, they've
she's 0-5 on WrestleMania.
She has that streak. It's they've squandered her every time. Even with this was just like the other match we're going to talk about with this. This was the momentum time to do it.
Yep.
And the thing is, unlike Charlotte, Bianca has proven she can carry a storyline without the title. She doesn't need the title to be there. Asuka technically doesn't need the title, but they don't know what to do with her. It would have been great to have her run as heel Asuka with the title, kicking everyone's ass. Mm-hmm. And that whole spot where she missed the mist.
That made me upset.
That was so poorly done, and it wasn't anyone's fault there. That was a Vince call. I could tell that was a Vince call. And oh my God, like, it just, and I understand like a lot of the ins and outs, and I'm glad, of all the people to keep it on there, Bianca can carry this farther. There's a lot more to do with her, but she's kind of spinning her wheels because there's no division around her to make it worthwhile.
She's basically ran through most of the Raw women's roster. And so while we were waiting for the next match to start, I turned to Minnie and Uriel and was just like, who is left for Bianca to face as Raw Women's Champion? She's basically gone through pretty much all of the major players in the locker room for Raw.
Well, but look what they had to do on Raw the next night and everything else. Rhea had to come out.
We'll talk about that, because
no one else.
The implications in that really worried me, but we'll talk about that in a bit.
If they don't separate the men's titles, it'd be good to have the women's titles put together on the other night. Make it the women's night. Add women, like women's wrestling. Becky 2 belts. Bianca 2 belts.
Well, I've heard other reports, and I don't like the reports that I'm hearing, but we'll wait. They are looking to unify the women's title, and I'm just like, oh boy. Because we'll go into more detail, but I don't like that idea, because if you have a singular belt, you lose the ability to have multiple women's storylines going. I mean, granted, there's not a lot of them going on right now.
Anyway, yeah.
But a singular belt would really hurt other women getting TV time too. worse than it already is now. But we'll discuss that more in detail. But
unless they go the route that AEW did and get a secondary title, like
yes,
Intercontinental, but something for the women.
Yeah.
But overall, I really did enjoy this match. Like Bianca and I knew Bianca and Asuka in ring, they were going to kill it. Yeah. But you could tell that Vince's little fingerprints were on certain parts of this match. And I didn't really dig that Bianca was able to duck the mist. Like, that is just, and Asuka should have won. I was just like, she's 0-5 at WrestleMania.
Well, but also you could have done the whole thing if she got misted and then worked through the mist to KOD. Asuka somehow figures it out. That makes Bianca look stronger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was a missed opportunity.
And I mean, like, we just had something similar happen at the Royal Rumble. Because remember, Asuka went to go miss Rhea. She ducked, and then Liv got it, but Liv was able to kind of make it work. She's like, I can't see, but I'm going to still beat your ass.
Yeah, but also having that happen with Muda there too, and Asuka's paying homage to Muda.
That made me mad. I was like,
This was the night of, this was the night of the wrong people won in a lot of the matches, and they won in the worst possible way.
Yeah.
Yeah. In-ring between this match was great, but wrong person won. And this is somebody who loves Bianca Belair.
Bianca is number one in your mind completely. It always is.
Yes, and to see her wrestle live really checked something off for me. And I mentioned at our last episode of why I was really excited for personal reasons why I was excited to see this match, but Bianca should not have retained here. Asuka should have won, but overall, I really did enjoy the match, though. It was really cool, and I loved it.
It wasn't a bad match. It wasn't a bad match at all. The ending brought it down, and
the ending brought it down. And booking decisions are not the best.
No.
Yeah, they both got after it. They both got after it. It was definitely exciting. But you're right. I personally would have accepted Bianca winning that match a lot more had she got misted and then fought her way through it. Because that's back in the day. That's what they did. Like with correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Hulk Hogan in a champion. Yeah, he got misted and he fought through it and won, and it was this great thing. But I agree with the two of you. I do wish Asuka would have come out on top.
There's more places to go with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Also, as a last thing before we move on, I'm mad that Bianca didn't use her braid to smack Asuka. I thought that would have been great, but I miss her hitting people with the braid.
But here's the thing: if they got to that point where she had to do it, that's the perfect setup. She goes back, she whips Asuka, and when she hits her, missed.
Yes, that would have been great.
Bianca does it to herself.
That would have been awesome, but great match. The ending kind of sucked the air out of the room a little bit, and that was the first match to do that. And that was the first match to suck the air out of the room, because we'll get to this main event in a hot second.
Oh my god! But in between, and poor Finn in the next match.
So we're gonna skip over Shane blowing out his knee because I don't want to talk about it.
No, he didn't blow out his knee. He tore his quad. He pulled a Vince. He did his full homage to Vince by tearing his quad in a match he shouldn't have been in.
Bobby Lashley and LA Knight should have had something. That's all I'll say on that.
Bobby Lashley had a match that night. He had a match trying to carry that heavy-ass trophy and not getting it anywhere.
I was so pissed off when that happened. And you could tell Bobby was just like, I'm trying to keep my composure because I want to curse people out right now.
Yep.
But
Bobby is just WrestleMania pretty much every year. He gets right there, and then he doesn't get a WrestleMania match.
No. So after Shane tore things in his leg.
And Snoop improvised the worst people's elbow in history and still was better than most things on the same show.
Yes.
Snoop Dogg earned my respect that night because he's just like, fuck this, we're just gonna make shit up. And he admits that he knows it's not the greatest people's elbow, but he had to do something. And you know what, Snoop Dogg, I give you props.
Full props for doing 65 plus year old Snoop Dogg doing a people's elbow on Miz. but literally no LA Knight for night, no Bobby Lashley, no Bray Wyatt, who was in the frickin' area. Like, no one.
That was unfortunate. What else? What also was unfortunate too? Man, this Hell in a Cell match could have been so much better had Finn not got busted open by that ladder shot. Poor Finn, man.
No, but he was going to lose anyways. Like, it wouldn't have been
that's
better.
also
it would
true.
Be worse. They neutered the demon. The demon means nothing anymore.
I'm so
this
upset.
Was the chance to actually have the demon mean something.
But
albeit the amount of black on his face was a little bit off-putting. Like, Finn went almost full blackface for this one. It was a little bit too much.
I was like, Finn Balor, like, I know you ain't, well, I mean, I can't assume anything, right? But at least what Finn has shown me, I was like, you don't roll that way. You don't, like, give me that vibe. Like, you are also a Bi-Conic, as we've come to learn and love.
But that, yeah, it didn't have enough definition on his face. Like, I showed it to my partner and they're like, yeah, I thought he was wearing blackface on the entrance. I was a little off put by that. I was like, yeah, I got close.
It got close, but, thankfully it wasn't. But man, I was so hot. There was, again, missed opportunity with Edge's entrance. I was like, bro, what is happening?
I get Slayer, but he never used it. Like, you have a theme sitting there that everyone loves.
You didn't do it. I was like, listen, I love his regular theme, but, like, the opportunity was there and y'all had missed it. Well, the entrance was hella cool, but still.
No Gangrel, even though he's supposed to be there.
I know.
I was just
to be there.
I was just about to say that. Like, I would have accepted Edge winning that match so much more if he was getting the shit kicked out of him by Finn, and then, like, out of nowhere Gangrel, like, comes down with the fucking, chalice of blood or some shit, you know what I mean?
Christian,
and then, like,
he's allowed to be there for the night. Like Tony Khan said, he could be there.
Yeah, and like Edge that, like, reaches out from the cage and, like, grabs the chalice of blood and drinks the blood, and then he turns back into Brute. That would have been so cool.
As opposed to disco ball head Edge.
As opposed to, yes.
Yeah, like, this match had the potential to actually be really, well, I mean, it was still fun, but the 5 minutes that we had to wait for medical staff to check on Finn after that ladder shot.
Well, I will say there was another funny part of that match, which was great when he was cannonball drop kicked through the table. Edge was,
and the table just
fell on him.
I laughed so hard, but man, I really wanted this match to be awesome. But, like, because Finn got hurt halfway through, it kind of just, the start and stop of the match, I was just like, damn, man.
I do want to ask, do you think they called an audible in the ring to have Edge go over, or was that always the thing?
I don't know, man. That's a good question. See, I would have hoped that Finn. See, now this is my conspiracy. I honestly think, and this is just my hope too, I think Finn probably would have gone over, if I'm being honest. I think Finn should have won this match because he's lost. Okay, so he's lost every pay-per-view match against Edge that they've had so far. I mean, granted, he won the I Quit match, but that was, that didn't mean anything. And Finn got pinned in the mixed match tag team from Elimination Chamber between Ed.
It was the right thing to do if they were going to win there, because you can't pin Rhea going into the championship match.
Well, no, I'm not mad that Finn got pinned, and I think Edge winning in Canada was the right call, but I think Finn probably would have and should have won here at WrestleMania and put a cap on this feud.
The only thing I can think is that they're saving it and turning him, like, because they've killed the demon, which is so bad. Like, the demon is officially gone. But
see, okay, I'm still upset Demon Finn Balor lost this match, but at least this wasn't as embarrassing as the Demon losing at Extreme Rules against Roman, because that ending is like the worst thing I have seen in the modern WWE period.
Yeah. I'm just hoping the one thing I could see them doing with Finn coming up was give him King of the Ring or give him Money in the Bank, one of the two. But I don't think they're going to do either of it.
No, and we'll talk about that. So, Hell in the Cell. Go ahead.
Hence, with the demon now being neutered, for lack of a better term, hence a great position to have Rhea Ripley step up as the leader of Judgment Day.
Yeah.
You know, because Finn can turn around and be like, "Oh, I'm a demon," blah. You know, and Rhea be like, "Shut the fuck up."
Sick Priest on him. Literally
Yeah.
turn Priest on him and beat him up and send him out like
Yeah.
Edge. You know, he and Edge have both been kicked out of Judgment Day, and it's just Rhea, Dom, and
Damien.
Yeah. And, yeah.
Give me more.
And then maybe
Yeah.
and then maybe bring some new players into the Judgment Day, you know?
or don't make it a
Or
three.
don't, yeah.
Rum Ramp.
Yeah, those three alone could run rampant all over the place. It would be fun.
I think Rhea's outgrown both of them. I think Rhea needs to go out on her own now and just
Yes.
Let Damien and Dominic be a tag team, and then Rhea's just like, bye. And just destroy the women's division on SmackDown.
Yeah, but that was
all right.
Terrible Hell in a Cell match.
Yeah. Poor Finn, seeing that picture afterwards made me feel for him. I was like, damn.
Yeah, they stapled him back and glued him back together just so he could finish the match. And honestly, they probably shouldn't have done that because it wasn't worthwhile.
Yeah. No, it really wasn't. And the fact that they color coded their stuff was weird, but whatever.
That was bizarre.
That was weird. I was like, why are things purple and red? Like, whatever.
You know, even Alice pointed that out in that match. She was like, "Wait, they color coded everything for?"
I know. I was like, "This is weird."
From the cage red, I don't get it. Maybe it's
Nah, we don't need a red cage anymore. We learned our lesson.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about this main event.
That took forever to get to, anyways, because another thing in the middle. I don't know. My God, like the amount of.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so before this match started, man, like inside the arena, they play. So the first thing they do is they play the hype package for the match, right?
Yeah.
Like leading everything. And like we're thinking, okay, the hype package is ending. We're gonna start the entrances. No, inside the arena, we get a fucking TurboTax ad.
Yeah, we got that TurboTax ad too.
I was so like, as soon as that came on, like the whole entire arena was just like, boo. I was just like, I have never been blue balled so hard before. I was like, this is some bullshit.
Completely. And then Roman's 18,000 hour entrance with the
Cody Rhodes. Okay, we start off with Cody's entrance, right? And I was just like, Cody kept it. It's just like what he normally does, anyways. And I was just like, hearing the entire arena sing his theme song was beautiful. And then, John, when you pointed out like who he gave the belt to, and then when I thought
saw him go over and hold his daughter, and then he gave -1 the belt, I'm like, he's losing.
Yeah. In hindsight, now that I look back at it, I was like, damn, I don't know why I wasn't thinking like what I normally do, because you know.
And do you know why I picked up on that?
Why?
Literally, he didn't go over and kiss his kid or do it. It wasn't like a quick thing. He picked her up, rubbed her back, be like, it's okay, it's okay. And the minute I saw him, like, he's comforting her because this is about to go wrong.
Good eye, man. Good eye.
We'll talk about that because, like, well, if Minnie comes back in time, but I'll talk about it for him because we both saw like the ending of this match coming because we saw, you know, Solo running, but we'll talk about that.
Oh my God.
Like, let's see.
And I love that they're saying like they knew that this was going to be the ending weeks ahead of time. Who came back weeks ahead of time that wasn't involved with creative, but was involved with creative? Who could it be that came back after Elimination Chamber and just decided to fuck with everything?
We'll talk about that because I do want to talk about Raw and SmackDown this week too. So we'll talk about it. So after Cody makes his entrance in, now I'm in the minority.
I mean, sure.
I mean, I'm in the minority when I say this because Minnie didn't care for Roman's special entrance. I'm a sucker for pianos. So I really dug the piano entrance. But man, that entrance took like 10 whole minutes, bro. I was just like...
You know what I found even funnier?
What?
They weren't pianos. They were all keyboards in a bunch of shells. They left see the freaking like keyboard readout at the top of all of them. And then that's fine if you get money for it. But if you want to make it look good, don't film that.
Seriously?
Yeah, go back and watch the feed.
Damn.
Giant screen keyboards. It's hysterical.
Damn, but like, man, I could have gone to I could have gone to the bathroom during Roman's entrance, honestly, because that thing took like 10 whole minutes.
I thought it was long in an elimination chamber because he just strolled down that thing, but that the walkway for that was short compared to that ramp. He just basically do that.
Yeah, he died, dude.
So I want to get into this main match, right? So like, see, I was invested and I was really enjoying this match. And by the end of it, technically, I still enjoyed it. However, the last 5 minutes, I knew something was going to go down because first we have the Usos run in, right? And then Sammy and Kevin come out and they make the Usos run off. Now, this is after Solo gets thrown out of the ring because of chicanery, right? So we're getting into like the home stretch of this match. And I was like, holy shit, Cody might actually have a chance of doing this. And then Minnie pointed out something to me and we both saw the cameraman and we saw someone wearing a black hoodie run through the audience. And as soon as we both saw that, it was at that moment we both realized, damn, Cody's losing this match. And what ended up happening? That is exactly what happened. Cody lost this match. How did he lose this match? While Paul Heyman was distracting the ref, Solo returns to the ring. Samoan spikes Cody as Cody has Roman dead to rights. And then a spear followed by a 1, 2, 3. Roman Reigns is still your undisputed WWE Universal Championship. When I tell you, my soul left my body, broke into a million pieces, and then crawled its way back into my heart space. I was so deflated by the ending. Now,
it was a Vince ending to a perfect WrestleMania for him. Make the crowd upset so they talk about you.
Now, I still would have been as mad, but I would have accepted it if Roman somehow beat Cody clean. I was like, okay, I'm still upset, but
Roman
I would have taken that. But
in years, Roman hasn't won a match clean in literally years.
I know. I'm just saying what would have made it better. But no, we didn't get that, JVL. Let me live my fantasy. But man, that ending really deflated it. I still enjoyed WrestleMania overall, and that main event was a lot of fun, but holy shit, man, that ending really soured me.
Well, and they took away from Sammy and Kevin's accomplishment by bringing them in for the save for no good reason.
Yep.
There was no reason to have them do the save if you're just going to do that.
And that was, and I feel like they pulled all the wind out of that whole like downfall of the bloodline thing going. It just like whoop. Now I from what I've been seeing and from what I've been reading, you know, the downfall of the bloodline's still coming, but it looks like it's going to be more like an internal thing than an external thing. But like you know, if this story has gone too long, and I'm saying this as someone that's just coming back into WWE, you know, if you're telling me that Roman Reigns has been the champion for 3 fucking years now, you know, and he's a fucking part-timer, like, come on, man, come on.
They made it work. That's the thing, is they made it work. You know, as weird as it seems, they made it work for 3 years. But you're right, Adolfo, that in this point, the momentum was to make that big change, have Cody beat Roman so that the fall of the bloodline could happen.
Yep.
That was going to be the impetus. They're going past it, and I feel in my bones the only reason they're doing it is to get Roman to 1,000 days. So he's up there with all of the other greats to beat that record and hold the title for 1,000 days, which does not happen anymore.
But you know, and I get it. The numbers for WrestleMania and everything were huge. You know, I mean, Triple H is this entire week. That's the drum he's been beating, right? But like, right? But you know, the story that was the end of the story.
It
You know
should
what I
have
mean?
been.
That should have been the end of the story. And now we got to wait another how many months to watch the bloodline start
Okay. Yeah, so let me break
falling
this.
apart from inside.
Let me put this in perspective real quick, because somebody did the maths, which I appreciate as the math teacher on this podcast, right? By the way, Minnie wanted me to let everybody on this podcast know that he agrees with our sentiments. He thought the match was phenomenal, but the ending really soured it, and Cody should have won, right? So let me put it into perspective. So as soon as Roman retained, because there was this whole thing circulating around that WWE was going to want to get Roman to go to 1,000 days. And then someone did the maths. And here's my thing. And JV, I think you said it when we were talking about Bianca versus Asuka or earlier in the podcast, but I hate that in this modern era of WWE that we are booking champions to be record breakers more than the content of the story and the builds and everything, right? So let me put it in perspective. Roman will have surpassed 1,000 days as champion either right before SummerSlam this year. So the 1,000-day mark is like the day before SummerSlam, which would be
any of the pay-per-views up till that. Basically, he's not being
Right.
at Backlash. He's not going to be anywhere. You would have your. It's like when Brock held the title. They're on hold. But yeah, SummerSlam is 1,000 days, and then I think I know where you're going with this. Who's the next one?
So that's the less. That's like the least. Like if Roman loses it at SummerSlam, like I will still have my critiques, but that's like the least worst possible outcome. Because then this person listed all the other pay-per-views according to predicting the schedule.
To be able to, when he would beat the next person in the line, he's behind.
Yes. They list the highest rated thing, right, that they have is Bruno Sammartino, who has had this long reign and like
something days, yeah.
Yeah, 2,000 something days. And according to the maths, Roman will technically break that record at WrestleMania next year. And then the WrestleMania 41, I believe it said.
Whatever, it was like 2028, I thought it was what he had to beat.
Oh, yeah, something like that. And I'm just sitting there looking at this. I was just like, listen, I know WWE has made some really stupid decisions, and they continue to make some stupid decisions. But I swear on my grandmother's soul, and all that is right in this world, if they go wanting Roman to be the all-time longest reigning champion, I will lose my goddamn mind.
That's so just from a story standpoint, that's so ridiculous, yeah. Because then comes the question, all right, well, who's going to fucking beat him for the title? And more importantly, by that point, are we going to fucking care? At least with Bruno Sammartino, he wasn't a part-time fucking champion. He was out there almost every week and, defending his title.
And the thing was, they only had like one or two big shows a year. Like he was an attraction. Right. He wasn't working every week. He was working in the territories and knew what he had to.
Right. Whereas, like you said, we're going to see these pay-per-views with no Roman Reigns, no champion.
So let me put this. So let me break this down. So I talked about this before we started recording tonight's episode, but for the listening audience, so with Roman Reigns continuing to be your undisputed WWE Universal Champion, right? If we look at the upcoming pay-per-view schedule, there are 4 scheduled pay-per-views between now and SummerSlam. So this is covering May, June, and July. So let me break this down for you. The next WWE pay-per-view is the first Saturday of May, which I believe is like, hold up, let me pull up my calendar because I want to get.
I've got this right here. I've got all the records, all the days he needs to do, and the pay-per-views they'd be close to be able to beat this stuff.
Speak on it, and then I'll go into my thing.
So they calculated this. To reach the 1,000 days, it would be May 27th, 2023, approximately WrestleMania Backlash. That's when Roman's going to hit 1,000 days. To beat Pedro Morales, which is 1,028 days, he'd have to get to Money in the Bank. To beat Bruno Sammartino's the second reign that was smaller, which was only 1,238 days, he'd have to get to the Royal Rumble 2024. So next January, he'd have to hold it till then. To beat Hulk Hogan, which is 1,475 days, he'd have to get to Crown Jewel 2024. To beat Bob Backlund, who's number 2 on the list, which was 2,136 days, he'd have to get to Hell in a Cell 2026. And finally, to beat Bruno Sammartino's other one, he'd have to get to May 4th, 2028, basically, which is WrestleMania Backlash 2028, to beat Bruno's original run of 2,804 days.
And I'm just like, if they better not go that route, because I will lose my damn mind.
To even get to Pedro Morales to Money in the Bank, I mean, that's in London. That's in July.
Yeah.
Or June. Sorry, that's in June.
So yeah, so
June from here, like that's 3 months away, and still like.
Yeah. So yeah, let's break this down. So the next pay-per-view, now that WrestleMania at the time of this recording is behind us, and we're slowly building to the next pay-per-view, which we'll talk about Raw and SmackDown in a sec, but we have 4 pay-per-views in May, June, and July. So the first pay-per-view is Saturday, May 6th, and that is Backlash, which is going to be held in Puerto Rico. And Roman isn't going to be working any of these upcoming pay-per-views until SummerSlam, according to reports, which means he's not going to be at Backlash, nor is he going to be at Money in the Bank. So Backlash is in Puerto Rico, and it's looking to be that the main event is going to be Cody versus Brock.
Yeah.
I swear to God, if Cody does not win, I was like, what? I don't like the fact that he's facing Brock, but whatever, right?
Yeah, which
it's gonna be shenanigans too.
Yeah, which I keep hearing the words redemption arc for Cody Rhodes being.
He doesn't need a redemption arc.
I was right. It's like really.
I'm just like whatever, right? So that's May 6th. Then 2 weeks later, May 20th, though in my opinion, this one doesn't really count for anything unless there's some sort of championship implications. But on Saturday, May 20th is King and Queen of the Ring
in
Saudi Arabia. Yep. So I'm just like, that's not really going to have any implications unless they decide to be like, the winner of this tournament will get a future title shot.
Quick question.
Yes.
Quick question, though.
Uh-huh.
So, King, Queen of the Ring in Saudi Arabia, and we know that market is a market that both WWE and UFC are really trying to get in and milk, right? From a business standpoint, wouldn't you want your headliner, i.e. your champion, to do a match in that pay-per-view? You know what I mean?
I mean, you could, but the thing would be, who do you throw against Roman? Roman has pretty much squashed every other person on the roster.
Right. Which we come back to that question. Now, mind you, I'm just trying to think from like a business, from the business standpoint, from a story writer standpoint. You could very much have Roman Reigns have a match in Saudi Arabia that's entertaining, right? So it entertains the fans, but he would still win. You know,
I mean, he entertained the fans at WrestleMania. Like, he's capable of having an entertaining match.
Exactly.
Again, it's who do you have him go against?
That's the question.
And it's the Saudi Arabia thing. So do you have him go against a legend at that point, because it's the money aspect of it? And do you want him to face another legend? He's beaten all of them too.
Right.
And that is, yeah, he's beaten all the legends, man. It's just like. So then, after King and Queen of the Ring is over on May 20th, there is no pay-per-view in June.
Can I just back to King and Queen of the Ring? If you want to give it any stakes, don't make it a title shot for Roman. make them get a title shot for the secondary belt, like IC title against Gunther, something like that's what you get for that, because the Royal Rumble's already doing the title shot for the heavyweight title.
Right.
Honestly, that'd be fine. Like, I mean, they did the United States Championship Elimination Chamber match, which I thought was a fun idea because you still have a men's chamber, but it's for the secondary, it's for the mid-card title, which that match was awesome too.
It was but either way, so we've got King of the Ring, and then what's next?
So that's May 20th. Then there's no pay-per-view in June. The next pay-per-view after King and Queen of the Ring in May is July 1st, which is Money in the Bank in the UK.
I had June 24th there, but that's interesting. Good to hear. Okay.
Yeah, so July 1st is Money in the Bank. So between King and Queen of the Ring and Money in the Bank, all of June, there's no pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Then after Money in the Bank on July 1st, on August 5th is going to be SummerSlam. So Saturday, August 5th is SummerSlam. So, according to Fightful and a couple other news outlets, by the way, shout out to Fightful because y'all be on top of your shit, and also make sure that you try to get credible sources when you put out news reports. But according to Fightful and a couple other places too, Roman is not expected to be at Backlash. No word if he's going to appear at King and Queen of the Ring. And then he also report that he's probably not going to be at Money in the Bank either. So then I'm sitting here and I'm just like, huh? I was like, I get it. Like, you don't have to have him wrestle because I know the man's is tired. Like, Roman, you could tell is getting, like, the fatigue is starting to finally catch up with him.
Well, it's also, he's got his twins and everything else at home that are about probably 4 or 5 right now.
Yeah.
Having a 5-year-old at home and be on the road that much, he doesn't want to be on the road that much. He wants to be there for his kids because leukemia survivor, I'm not surprised.
Exactly. Right. The man has been through actual, like, medical wars. Like, man. Yeah. But I'm just like, again, I'm in the camp that Cody still should have beat him at WrestleMania. And I'm still not thrilled, but I will be much better if Cody gets a shot at SummerSlam and wins at SummerSlam. Like, cool, whatever.
But do you have Roman drop the titles at the second largest pay-per-view of the year after that long of a reign?
I don't know, JVL. I'm not a WWE booker. Realistically, Roman should have dropped the titles at WrestleMania, the biggest Super Bowl pay-per-view for WWE.
And that's my thought.
I don't like
the next one.
I don't want to wait another year, dude.
No one does. No one does, because they're not going to be able to keep us engaged enough to have it happen.
Right.
And there's not.
They got to develop this bullshit. The bloodline eating itself. Paul Heyman, fucking, his lies coming to fruition, and and apparently Brock Lesnar is going to be part of the bloodline now because he's going to be palling up with Paul Heyman again. So
they could have done all that without the titles. I would have watched it, Roman without the titles and the entire bloodline falling apart. I would have watched that as it happened.
Same.
There's nothing there. Literally, with this, it's like, do you do the thing where he's like Smog and sitting on his titles and he loses all that way? Do you get like Solo wins King of the Ring or wins Money in the Bank, or you have Jay win Money in the Bank or something like that? So he has to challenge him at some point. Like, how do you? They booked themselves into a weird freaking corner that they didn't need to.
Yeah.
So guys, I'm back. I made the drive-through of In-N-Out this time, not the parking lot.
Did you get us some?
I did. Animal style fries, just how you like it.
Oh yeah, I love it animal style, especially from you.
We're like, here.
So, Minnie, we have talked at length about it. So tell us your feelings, because here's what you missed. We talked about Roman versus Cody at WrestleMania. We talked about how Roman is reportedly not going to be at any of the 3 upcoming pay-per-views until SummerSlam. And I waited for you because I wanted to talk about the Monday night after Raw because we both sat through that live.
Okay. So I felt overall the match itself, Cody versus Roman, was good. I just didn't like the way it ended. Now, I was already saying that if he wins, he's going to hold it to SummerSlam to get that 1,000 days. Then Cody's going to win, but I felt like he should have won at Mania because that would have been. Cody is still pushed to like almost John Cena level right now when it comes to babyface. But it ended terribly. It ended terribly, and I think poor Solo Sikoa taking all this heat for just doing what he was told. I do like the fact that I completely forgot that the reason why the kayfabe reason on why I'm completely forgetting his name, Mr. Bro left is because of Solo. So now they do have that other member to deal with Solo, which I was kind of like we're curious on who was going to take out Solo Sikoa for that SummerSlam match. I knew Roman wasn't going to put up the titles at the next 3 pay-per-view. I knew that was going to happen. I called that after he lost. I was granted though. I was like, when he lost, I was like, there's no reason why he should have won here at all. But apparently this has been the plan for a while now, is what I've read. Like the plan.
They said a couple weeks.
Yep.
Or like 5 or 6 weeks, and guess who came back 5 or 6 weeks ago?
Right, Vincent Kennedy. I have a big dick for big dudes.
McMahon. Oof. We'll talk about it in a little bit.
You know what made that
win? You think Cody's going to win? Almost.
Nah. Right. You know what made that even worse for me is I was right about to pass out, and then the notification hit me at 3 a.m. that the company got bought out and Vince was back being a chairman. So it was like, okay, 1, Vince is being chairman, and 2, it woke me. Like I was like right about to pass out, and I didn't fall asleep for another 2 hours after that, which made it worse. I was like, this is fucking stupid. I was about to sleep. Now I got to worry about Vince being in charge again.
Yeah, to put it in perspective, so as soon as night 2 ended,
he sent a message saying he had to tap out.
Okay.
Yeah, I did the same thing. Mom was like, we're having family dinner. I was like, well, look right in the middle of the good part. Okay.
JVL, you are the MVP because you have.
It's 11:20 at night.
I know. I promise I won't keep you too long, but to put it in perspective, as soon as night 2 ended, we just drove straight from Inglewood all the way back to my house, which took about 2 hours, I think. Yeah, 2 hours to get back here. And then we went to bed like at midnight. So for Minnie to like get that message that night, I was just like, damn. And then I had him help me with some labor the next day. I was like, damn, man.
I had because it reported to me on ESPN.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting I'm like right about there, and I heard it scared me. I was like, what the fuck? I looked down, I just read, that the parent company for UFC bought, and they reinstated Vince. I was like, that is the dumbest, and he's protected now, like how Dana White's been protected. So at this point, it is either
that was mentioned. I was like, okay, nothing's gonna get done about anything he's done either. It's all gonna be wiped under the rug again.
So it's either. Granted though, this company is very big about money, and if the universe itself is threatening to boycott and just won't support the product unless Vince is, I said, if Vince is in charge of the business portion of the company, cool, keep away from creative. But the fact that he was sitting, now we're talking about the Monday After Raw, the fact he was he was sitting in Gorilla, changing the show on Raw. There were supposed to be 2 or 3 triple threat women's matches to set up the number 1 contendership for both belts.
Yep.
But it got replaced for the 1 tag match.
And Omos, who didn't have his ring gear.
Omos showed up, and then of course they did the classic Brock Lesnar spot. I'm going to help you out. Nah, fuck you, F5. For no reason. There's no reason why Lesnar should have.
Yeah, so
it would have been way better if he dug the tag team. That would have been incredible, but they needed to set up they needed to set up SummerSlam, but they should have done Solo versus Cody at Backlash.
Yeah. But the other part is, which is also really, when he was at the second night of WrestleMania, it was brought up that while he wasn't in Gorilla proper, his office was right outside the door to get into Gorilla. So he was watching everything happening with the door open and going, come in here, I want to talk to you. So he was running everything from there anyways, just had the culpability of, I wasn't in Gorilla, I was next door to Gorilla.
Yeah, Vince is. I'm holding on to see how SummerSlam goes, and if SummerSlam goes poorly, it's.
We were just talking about that because at that point, Roman has basically beaten Pedro Morales' number. And do you have him drop the titles at SummerSlam instead of WrestleMania? Or because this is such a ridiculous reign, do you wait then until WrestleMania? Like, and how are you going to get us there? Like, the thing is, like, I get many you want to wait until SummerSlam to see what happens, but they've got nowhere to go, and I'm not invested enough to wait for SummerSlam. I can't sit there and see. They're not going to get anywhere.
I just want to see Cody. I want to see if they actually push and make Cody succeed.
I don't think they will.
Really about it.
We also brought up the fact that like they could have booked with the titles gone the fall of the bloodline very well, and that could have taken you all the way through to WrestleMania.
Right, unless they started
that. Do that now.
Unless they decided to pull that trigger at SummerSlam. But at the same time, they could have done that with Sammy. They could have just gone like, yes, we wanted to see Sammy and KO, but Sammy and Jay would have been bigger.
Yeah.
But how do you get rid of the belts at that point? You put it on Solo. Because the Freebird rule, they're all technically the tag champions. So give it to Solo. Jay strips himself, teams with Sammy, and they do that. But they decided and they hinted at it again on SmackDown. But then when Solo went for the Samoan Spike, then Jay super kicked him. So there still could be something because Solo looked pissed that he took his spot. But
yeah,
at this point, it's the stupid bloodline. Like it's one of the best storylines they've produced since Vince versus Austin back in the Attitude Era.
And they're fucking it up.
The back end of it's been terrible because it's no longer Hunter in charge of it. It's Vince.
Which and this is where I'm JVL. I see your points too, and I we said in multiple conversations in our text thread. Like I can see where you're coming from, and I don't disagree with you. However, I'm on the same boat with Minnie on this one. I want to see where it happens between now and SummerSlam. And like I said, right now it's not off to a great start. And if it continues to decline, and if it's just a big pile of dog shit by the time we get to SummerSlam, I will be man enough to admit to eat crow and to admit that I was wrong and that you were correct.
I don't need either of you to tell me that. I feel bad that you'll have wasted your time. Like, as I said in the text threads, I am at the place where I was before Vince got booted out, where like I have no more fucks to give. I can't believe anything that's coming out of their mouths about where they say creative's going. I can't believe what they're saying the direction is because there isn't one. And I got burned by that by waiting through the last bit of it to the point where I'm like, there is nothing left in me to give the energy and love to these wrestlers that I really enjoy because of who's running their lives. Like I just can't anymore. Like I've given too much.
Are they doing with the brand split? Are they doing like one person's in charge of creative of one brand and one person in charge of creative of the other brand?
They haven't said. All they have said is the draft is going to make it so these wrestlers cannot cross the lines again, which is weird because it was working better when they could. Because we're sick of the brand split, which is another reason they couldn't get stuff done. And how do you do the brand split with your titles on Roman?
Well, your tag titles are on one team, both of them.
Yep.
And your big titles are on Roman. So Raw is not going to see a main title until at least July.
Right. It's going to be the U.S. title and that's it. Or if they're doing what Mikey was talking about and they unify the women's titles, you stick the women's titles on Raw as the big title, which in and of itself is a good thing because you want to promote that. But at the same time, you're right, Mikey. Then what title do they give the other women on SmackDown? Because that's basically like when you would do GM mode in SmackDown versus Raw, where you'd have the women's title that would be on one show, but you have nothing for anyone else. So why would you draft any woman over to SmackDown?
Get rid of the SmackDown and Raw women's to unify it and bring back, as they wanted to get rid of it because of the negative connotation that it had, but make the women's championship and the Divas championship. So each brand has its big title.
Or do like what AEW does. Like JVL mentioned this, like you have the AEW's women title, and then you have the secondary title for the women, which is the TBS. So if WWE wanted to do something like that, then I would be all for it. Like a TV title.
Right. Do some sort of women's, another a TV title or something like that. So each brand has its own. And it's like the big belt's on Raw, the mid card belt is on SmackDown, but there's still a belt up, and they have to split the championships, the main ones.
Yeah,
because those things have been. But at this point, it's Roman has to lose. How is Cody going to split it? How are they going to plan that storyline out? Of splitting the belts is Cody,
and I don't think they're smart enough to do that right now because they could. So if Hunter was still in charge, and if this was an Vince thing, I might have a little more thing to go. Okay, how is he going to get out of this? He's got to have some, because he was doing long-term planning. There was long-term booking, and there was thought processes. Like the writers had room to move. They built this stuff out. It's because Vince is back that I do not trust the process for them to figure this out. They're going to get to a point where they go, oh crap, we're sitting here at SummerSlam and we haven't figured out we haven't set anything up. We haven't done anything. We haven't worked through it. And now we have to pull the trigger on something because we're losing money hand over fist.
I mean, somebody posted this on, I think it was on Twitter or something like that. Mikey read out, but it was like, Roman can be like, cool, I beat you once, you get another title shot, but I'm only put one title up for grabs. So you can then move the belts to each brand, and that's how you split it. Roman can still look like he's the asshole heel, only putting one title up, and it ununifies the belts. So still, like, Roman still looks kind of strong. I mean, he finally got pinned cleanly, but it does separate the belts. And they need to do the same thing with the tag titles. I feel like Sammy and KO should just not even have a match for it. Just be like, hey, here's a whatever brand they get drafted to, give the other tag titles up in the whole tournament for it. And I think the Street Profits would probably take it from there, but
probably, although I'd love to see some other ones. But I get that, and many that makes sense. But Vince will never let that happen.
Right, Vince is going to have Omos or Brock Lesnar come in and take the belts.
Oh, here's to even go off your idea. Here's a great piece of fantasy booking. You get it to a point where Roman drops, he says, I'm going to only drop one title. Great. SummerSlam, he drops one title. He thinks he's going to hold on to the rest of the time. The Money in the Bank person comes out after he loses that first title and takes the other one.
It's going to be like it's going to be like Solo. And that's how they can. That's how they can book.
That's how you can book it. They're not gonna.
But that would be that's the best. That's the best option they have, and they won't do it.
No.
They're going to have Cody win both belts, and then both belts are going to be on Raw for a while, and they're not going to separate them, which is stupid.
Or
those
unify
belts
them and make them into one belt, and then come up with another one. Like,
if they unify it, make it one belt, cool. Bring back the OG World Heavyweight Championship, the WCW belt.
Cool belt, yeah.
That was the SmackDown belt for the longest time. Put it back on SmackDown. Let SmackDown and Raw do their things.
Make it the big blue belt, but the other thing is they're not going to do that because they won't do that for branding. They got to keep the giant W like freaking things because it sells toys. Like, this is the other thing that you run into. It's like they can't be creative because they're so worried about the bottom line, and because Vince is there doing it. Hunter had a way to get it done. I believe that in my bones. He had a good plan. Even if this was his idea to do this through, he had a good plan. He's not in charge. I can't do it. There's nothing to prove to me they can do this. So why am I wasting my time getting to SummerSlam, which is 3.5, 4 months away, when I could just say, okay, fuck it. I'll give my time to AEW, ROH, PWG, GCW.
I can't watch a lot of the pay-per-views because I work Mondays, and then on Mondays I do I have like my IRL D&D group, and then on Fridays I work. So I just watch the highlights of SmackDown and Raw. That's why I'm like, I can hold off till SummerSlam. I just watch the pay-per-views.
I guess so, but it just, even that, like, why? I just don't see the point.
To be honest, though,
I'm jaded and I'm bad about that. And like I said before this, I don't need either of you to tell me I'm wrong or I'm right when this goes down. I just empathize and sympathize that if you have to waste your time on this, it's not worthwhile to do that because it's not adding anything to your love of wrestling.
You're right. That I do agree with, but I'm just gonna hold out and see what happens. And I'm hoping the parent, because Vince now technically has a boss, that he does something.
Well, Dana White doesn't do anything.
There is some control over Dana White, because Dana White, after the company's been bought out, Dana White has been quieter.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping the boss does something and sees the company losing money, the company losing attraction, because now Vince is now back in charge, that he does something and keeps Vince away from the creative portion of any creative, and just focus on the management of the business, not the actual creative portion. And I'm hoping that's something he sees.
And the other thing I'm worried about too with the draft coming up is that I'm hoping that NXT stars will be able to be pulled up. I would love to see a 3-way turnaround where they put people from Raw and SmackDown get drafted to NXT.
See,
give the guys who aren't doing much on the main roster a chance to shine on NXT.
So like that's what I said in our text today, because like after SmackDown and the way that Hunter worded it, I was just like, now he said every superstar will be available. So I was like, they didn't say no to it, but like that also means calling up the kids from NXT, but also sending some main roster to NXT.
Yeah,
so I was just
all up in a bunch of other ones, but this worries me.
Yeah,
that's going to happen, and we know how Vince does with NXT call-ups. He's going to ruin everybody that comes up, and so again, I'm worried.
I feel like the only one that wouldn't get ruined is Braun Breaker because he's big strong man, and that's Vince's biggest.
Look what happened the first time they called up Karrion Kross. Now, granted, he's not my cup of tea, but even still, he was NXT champion, and he fucking lost to Jeff Hardy like in 2 minutes. His first night on the main roster, and he was still NXT champion.
Remember how good of a relationship Vince has with the Steiners. Doesn't matter how good Hunter's is, NXT, all that stuff. Vince hates Steiners.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter if Braun Breaker is good or bad, or big, meaty, slappy men. Vince hates Gunther, and Gunther's amazing. Vince hates Steiner. He hates it. Like, Vince cannot deal with the fact that he didn't make this person. So he's not going to treat him well.
That's true.
So Braun's going to get it. And then, like, okay, so we're already talking about it. So I'm looking at NXT, right? So, like, immediately, Braun Breaker worries me when he gets called up to main roster. Cameron Grimes worries me when he makes main roster.
Most of them actually kind of concern me. I think, in all honesty, I think the only one that might be okay getting called up because he's so similar to Montez Ford is Carmelo Hayes.
But he's not right now because he's the champion. He's not getting called
up. He's not going to get called up. But he might be the only one that he's the only one that I'm like. I would be like, okay, if he gets moved from the main roster, he probably won't get destroyed.
Well, he will though because he's too small. He's Johnny Gargano size.
Yeah,
Vince doesn't like that.
No, and then I don't think it's happening because he's current champion. But if Wesley ever gets called up to main roster, I'm worried for him.
I'm hoping Dragon Lee doesn't get called up because he will get.
Bro,
he's too new.
He's too new. But if Dragon Lee is going to get called up in the future, if it is that Vince is in charge of creative for Raw and Hunter is in charge of SmackDown, throw Dragon Lee eventually on SmackDown because I trust Hunter over Vince when it comes, because Vince's track record with luchadors is and any Latin superstars is non-existent.
Ray would have never, I hate to say this, but Ray would have never won the world title if Eddie didn't die.
No,
that's legitimately what it was.
No,
same thing with Benoit though.
Yeah, it's just
he would have never won if Eddie wasn't calling him. Yeah.
But also in that respect, I think the only other person I can see getting called up from NXT is Dragunov.
Oh man, I'm worried.
Gunther, but he'll and Vince is going to look at him and say, "Oh, you're Drake Maverick."
No.
He's going to do that.
Drake Maverick deserves.
I hope Ilya gets the proper push he deserves. That man is an absolute monster, and after watching him at Stand and Deliver, I'm a full-fledged fan of Ilya Dragunov.
He's amazing. I would pay hard money to see a Pete Dunne Ilya Dragunov match on the main roster. That would be
so beautiful.
A and a half. It'll never.
Hold on, you said that wrong. Butch.
Nope, he's Pete Dunne now. He's done now. He got his name back.
I mean,
I watched the SmackDown highlights. They still call him Butch.
Yeah, they still call him Butch, but he's wearing his Pete Dunne ring gear. He's breaking people's fingers like Pete Dunne. Eventually, I would love it if Piper Niven could get her name back. I don't see.
She is Piper Niven. She's not Dewdrop.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. She's finally back to being Piper Niven. She's no longer Dewdrop. Thank God. Now, if we're talking,
it's hilarious. Hold on, it's actually hilarious because they actually talk about that in the 2K23 story mode. They have you come in as your name is the Lock, and you're like, that name is stupid. I don't want to go by this name anymore. And it was like, trust the process, and then you change it, and they get pissed off at you.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Now, as far as the women go, obviously, Roxanne, if under Vince, I'm so worried for her.
Zoe Stark's coming up. She's gonna get lost.
She's gonna get lost. Let's see. Gigi Dolan, whenever she makes her way to main roster, worries me. Mrs. Darby Allin.
I feel like anybody that goes to Raw, I'm worried about. But if they go one's
to
in charge of
SmackDown,
one, one's in charge of the other, I feel like anyone that gets moved up to SmackDown would be okay.
Indy is gonna get so lost on Raw, and that breaks my little heart. Because look at fucking Candice LeRae.
Who thinks gonna get moved down? Who's gonna get moved down to NXT then? What do you think?
If I'm being honest, who do I think should get moved down? I can't say Dolph Ziggler because he already got moved down, and then they moved him back up, which was weird.
Did they send Finn down again?
I mean, listen, no, not again, bro. I don't want to see Finn for a third time down there.
No, Judgment Day is unfortunately too popular for him to get moved down.
Let's see.
Pat Moss. Send Baron Corbin back down to NXT.
Listen,
let him bring back his OG gimmick.
Yeah.
That would
be the Lone Wolf gimmick. Get rid of this Happy Corbin bullshit they've been doing with him.
Yeah, that doesn't work. This is a hot take, but I mean, I don't know how he would do, but like I wouldn't be mad if Drew was there for a little bit.
I was thinking Drew McIntyre because of his threats to leave the company, so they might move him down to NXT.
Maybe.
But I feel like Drew would just run through everybody.
That is very true. Let's see.
You could honestly send Gable back down.
Gable would be great. Like him and Carmelo, I would be cool with that match.
So send down the entire Alpha Academy, or just keep Otis?
I'd keep Otis up for now because he's got the thing going on. Send Gable back down for a bit to come back up and beat the crap out of him. Or honestly, just for a lark, send Braun back down. See what happens.
Braun Strowman.
Send Braun and Ricochet back down.
Yeah. Ricochet in NXT would be great because him and Carmelo had a great match at
send that American Bash. Because they need they need the bolster. Like I think their singles men's division for like the big belt, I think needs a little bit more meat to it because they just have like the two guys they're pushing.
It's just Carmelo and Braun because every other man.
It's going up the North American belt.
Well,
it's either North American or they're in a tag team.
Right.
What if you sent Ridge and Pete Dunne back down? Just have Sheamus by himself.
I mean, because Ridge and Pete were there for like 2 weeks, and I think they faced Pretty Deadly. That was a fun match.
I think
Pete's been like there for years. Like that's his house too. Like Pete built fucking NXT.
I think they keep Sheamus up, but move the Brawling Brutes down. They keep Sheamus. Yeah,
I'm trying to think. I would like to see the Creeds come up to SmackDown, but they just need a little more work.
Put Omos on fucking NXT.
Tag teams don't happen up there. Like
that's true.
On down there, have Veer do something.
I forget they moved Jinder back to NXT, and he's not really doing anything right now. I was like, that was.
I think.
No, he did. He lost. And then he had a tag team match. Him and Indus Sher took on the Creeds and Braun. So that was actually not that bad of a match, honestly. I don't know, man.
Gigi Dolan is no longer Mrs. Darby Allin. They got divorced.
Oh, that's sad. But
so they need some people to bolster the men's, just the single men's, because it's like. Either you're like part of the North American title picture, like the 3 people, or you're the main belt. Then you're just like nothing after that. So they need to I need some big, 1 or 2 more big names in NXT to help bolster.
So hear me out, right? Because I just got this idea, and both of you can tell me I'm wrong with this. But so booking hat on. Granted, I don't think she has anything to. She's not doing anything right now after she lost to Bianca at WrestleMania. But hear me out, right? So what if you send Asuka back to NXT, but hear me out, have Asuka enter a program. It doesn't even need to be a belt, but because we have another Japanese women's wrestling legend in NXT, Asuka can have a program with Meiko Satomura for a little bit, and it doesn't have to be a title.
No. There's just a lot to contemplate with it. We can speculate all day with who's going in the draft and
right.
do the next part of it. But honestly, I don't like NXT is probably one of the few places I would still watch at this point. That's a WWE product. Like I just can't.
No, I understand. And if I'm
I
being
would rather watch Dark Elevation.
Well, of course. I mean, you're going to get some phenomenal matches. But for me personally, after suffering through the Monday Raw after Mania, me and Minnie here had to be subjugated to that live in stereo as it was happening. Like,
yeah.
I mean, the only exciting thing was Matt Riddle coming back.
That was fun. And we also had some killer pizza.
We did.
What did you have?
We ordered Domino's.
We saw an ad for pizza and we're like, pizza sounds good.
Pizza sounds like the right thing.
And then SmackDown was like, damn.
I heard SmackDown was actually pretty good.
SmackDown, it was night and day. SmackDown, like, still, it was like, there's some things that don't make sense, but immediately I will tell you that it was definitely better than Monday.
I'm kind of surprised that Vince isn't taking over SmackDown and Triple H isn't taking over Raw because SmackDown's on Fox.
Well, and Vince wasn't there because it was in Portland. That was the other thing they were saying was Vince was available by Zoom and was making creative decisions via Zoom. But because he wasn't there, maybe they disregarded a few of them and said, don't listen to him right now. Just do what you're doing. So as long as he's not physically in the building, it might be better, but no one knows.
Someone's got to tell that old geezer to go fuck himself.
Or die.
I mean, Cody Rhodes did that. That's why he started AEW.
I mean, Isla Dawn, if you hear this podcast, put a hex or something on Vince McMahon. Make him spit. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see how this goes. But that will conclude this long WrestleMania episode.
I wish it was better.
Yeah, I mean, night 2, we all agreed was definitely the worst. Night 1 was so much better. And Stand and Deliver for me personally was a highlight because I'm the only person here who watches NXT, and I will be okay with that.
You're turning a lot of us around to it, and you're getting there. You're going to stand for it, so keep doing what you're doing. I'll keep repping my Simon Miller merch I got. So
here's the thing: like, I have to believe in something in wrestling because the world will. Hell will freeze over if Mikey ends up becoming so jaded that he doesn't want to watch wrestling anymore. But granted, I watch too many promotions to ever get that way. Even if I end up like hating WWE with a burning passion, there's so much good work in the other promotions that are a part of this podcast that we talk about, and I'm not too worried about it. I did cry though. Josh Alexander had to relinquish his title. Man, the torn tricep, man, that was gnarly.
That's that's been the year of the torn tricep for a lot of people this year.
Well, Impact's hurting right now because Josh had to relinquish his title, and then Mickie James' status is in question too, and she's the women's champion.
Well, and I was going to say right before that, Mikey, because I probably won't be watching WWE at all anymore, I might have to start watching TNA. I'm sorry, Impact.
Please do. And this is a hot take. Their women's division is probably the best booked across all the promotions we watch, AEW and WWE included in that conversation.
It always has been.
It really has. I'm excited. We're getting Deonna versus Jordan at their next pay-per-view in next week. And if Mickie is cleared to wrestle by then, it will be a triple threat, which will be great. But that is going to conclude another episode of the Bi-Conics. We have a good time on this podcast. We may have differing opinions, but at the end of the day, we all love professional wrestling and we are very passionate about it.
Can I rage quit now?
No, don't rage quit. Let me get through outros, then you can rage quit. But when we come back with our next episode, which will be, I will probably take the lead and talk about Backlash because the next time we record will be after Backlash. And then we could just figure out whatever the hell we want to talk about because the next time we record will be about 2 to 3 weeks away from Double or Nothing. We will be 2 to 3 weeks out before Double or Nothing happens. Jesus Christ, what is happening?
I'm so excited for All In too. All In sounds amazing.
Yes. But catch us, the Bi-Conics of the next Jericho Cruise. We'll be going out to that one.
I mean,
that's the goal.
That's the goal. Our goal is listen, as much as what has happened after WrestleMania has been questionable at best, JVL will agree with this probably, and Adolfo made me feel better about it, even though I have my complaints about it. Nothing will ever take away the feeling of being able to go say that I went to a WrestleMania, and that is the one thing on my bucket list that I have been wanting to check off for the longest time.
Yeah, you got to do it and close to your hometown too, which is great.
And I got to do it with some really good friends of mine. Here's hoping that the next time we do any pay-per-view at this point, I don't care if it's WWE, AEW, Impact, whatever, our mission is to get the Bi-Conics, all 5 of us, out to somewhere.
We're going to London for All In.
Geez, honestly, I don't think it's going to happen this year, but I'm not going to rule it out for next year.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll final play that long.
Oh my goodness. But from all of us here at the Bi-Conics and at Vibe Tribe Productions, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and as always, make sure that you let those good times roll and keep your professional wrestling great.
My God, he's broken in half.
Yes. But until then, yeah. See you later.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another Vibe Tribe production. What's going to happen next time? Well, you're going to have to tune in to find out. But until then, remember, audio podcast land, take care of yourself, love one another, and as always, make sure that you keep the good times rolling. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.